The ship crash wasn't supposed to happen. Eli opened his eyes slowly. His head throbbed. He was a human engineer, just a simple technician working on a supply vessel that wandered too close to alien space. The crew was gone. He was the only survivor, and now he was a prisoner. Chains bound his wrists. Two guards with glowing armor dragged him through silver corridors. Their skin was gray-blue, their eyes glowing like soft moonlight. They said nothing as they pulled him into a massive chamber. The room was filled with tall, elegant aliens wearing royal robes. In the center, a golden throne shimmered, and sitting on it was the emperor of the Velian Empire, cold, powerful, and angry. A voice echoed through the room. "This human broke into our borders. He is not worth a cell. Shall I feed him to the beasts?" Laughter filled the hall. But one voice didn't laugh. A quiet voice, a female voice. "Give him to me." Everyone turned. Standing to the side was a young alien woman, her head lowered, her silver hair falling across her face. She wore no crown. No guards stood by her side. She looked forgotten, unimportant. It was Princess Varelia, the Emperor's youngest daughter, the one no one respected. The Emperor raised an eyebrow. "You want this thing? A creature?" She nodded once. "I do." He laughed bitterly. "Fine. Take him. He is yours. A gift for the infertile one. At least now you'll have someone to talk to." The crowd laughed again, mocking her, but Varelia didn't react. She simply stepped forward and took Eli's arm gently. Her skin was cold. Her grip was soft. "Come," she said quietly, not meeting his eyes. Eli didn't understand her words, but he felt something in her voice. Kindness, pain, something human. They walked through long palace corridors. Eli's legs were weak, his mind still spinning. He was surrounded by a strange world, walls that glowed, floating candles, guards that watched him like a wild beast. Varelia led him into a small room at the back of the palace. It didn't look like a princess's room. No gold, no servants. Just simple furniture, a bed, a small table, books. "You will stay here," she said softly in broken English. Eli sat on the floor, his hands still shaking. "Why? Why did you ask for me?" He finally whispered. She looked at him for a long moment. "I don't know." Hours passed. She brought him food, simple fruits and warm bread. She sat across the room, watching him silently. He noticed her eyes were always sad, always tired. "I'm not like them," she said later that night. "I don't matter. I cannot give children, so they don't care what I do." Eli didn't know what to say. He finally spoke. "Thank you for saving me." She looked surprised. "No one has ever thanked me before." That night, Eli couldn't sleep. He kept thinking, why did she really save him? What was this place? What did she mean about not being able to give children? And why did she look so lonely? Something inside him stirred, not fear, not hate, something deeper. Maybe she wasn't his captor. Maybe she was a prisoner too. Eli had lived with aliens for 5 days now, but none of them treated him like a person, except Varelia. Every morning she entered his room quietly. She placed food on the table. She never smiled, but she always asked, "Did you sleep well?" Her English was rough, but it was improving. Eli tried to answer in simple words. Still, mostly they sat in silence. Until one night, something changed. The moon above the alien palace turned red. Outside, a royal feast echoed with laughter and loud music. But Varelia didn't go. Instead, she stood by Eli's door and whispered, "Come with me." Eli followed her through dark stone halls beneath the palace. The guards didn't stop her. No one cared where the broken princess went. She opened a metal door, and they stepped inside a cold, secret chamber. What Eli saw shocked him. It was a lab filled with tools, machines, and glowing screens. Medical reports floated in the air, DNA maps, healing chambers, ancient tablets mixed with alien tech. It didn't belong to a princess, it looked like a scientist's lair. Veralia walked to a machine and turned it on. A blue light bathed her face. "I'm not just broken," she said. "I tried to fix myself." She tapped a hologram, a 3D image, of her DNA rotated midair. Eli stared at it. "I've studied every healer, every scan, every myth. They say I am cursed. They say my womb is dead. But I think they're wrong. I think they're scared." Eli stepped closer. "You built this all yourself?" She nodded. "No one helped. No one cared. I had to teach myself. I want to be more than a sad daughter in the shadows." He looked at the DNA again. Something caught his eye. "What is this pattern?" he asked. She turned sharply. You saw that?" Eli pointed at a strange lock-like structure in her genes that shouldn't be there. "It looks like a blocker. Something artificial." Veralia stared at him. "You see it too?" They worked together. That night, side by side. Veralia showed him test results. Eli shared what he knew about human biology. Though their worlds were different, their minds connected, like two puzzle pieces. Hours passed like minutes. For the first time, Veralia laughed. A soft, shy laugh. "You're smarter than you look." Eli smiled. "You're kinder than you act." She blinked, surprised. "No one says that to me." But outside that hidden lab, danger was growing. Verelia's older sister, Princess Aya, had seen them walking the halls together. She didn't like it. She believed her bloodline was pure, powerful. She hated humans, and more than that, she hated Veralia for still existing. She reported to the royal guards. "The broken one plots with the human," she hissed. "They're planning something. Stop them." Back in the lab, Veralia sat on the floor, her voice trembling. "If what you said is true, if my genes are not broken, just blocked, then maybe I can still—" Eli finished the sentence. "Have a child?" Her face froze. "Yes, but they will never allow that." "Why?" he asked. "Because if I can give life, I'm no longer useless. I'm a threat." She looked at him deeply. "They gave me a gift they thought I would never use. A human. But what if the human is the key to my future?" It had been 12 days since the human Eli was gifted to the forgotten alien princess, Veralia. But what began as punishment had now become something dangerous, something powerful. In the hidden lab beneath the palace, Veralia sat beside Eli, her hands trembling. She had unlocked a part of her DNA, a strange block placed there long ago. But by whom? And why? "Look at this," Eli whispered. He pointed at the screen. "These markers, this code, it's not natural. Someone changed you." Verelia's hands clenched. "You mean I was made to be infertile?" Eli nodded. "Yes. This isn't a sickness, it's a lock, and you were the prisoner." Veralia backed away from the screen, shaking. Her voice broke. "My own bloodline betrayed me." Eli stood up slowly. "Why would they do that?" She stared at the ceiling. "Because I was born under the wrong star. My birth sign. It predicted I would bring change. The high priests called it a cursed omen. The king feared it, so he made sure I could never rise." Her voice dropped. "He cursed his own daughter." That night, Veralia and Eli worked for hours. Her medical machines, her knowledge, and Eli's human tech skills joined perfectly. By midnight, Eli crafted a tiny injector. Just when the third assassin raised a blade to her throat, a blaster shot rang out. The assassin froze, then collapsed, smoke rising from the hole in his back. At the doorway stood a figure in sleek black armor, holding a rifle that shimmered with alien tech. The helmet retracted, revealing a familiar face. One of the palace guards, eyes sharp and unreadable. "I'm not here for him," the guard said, stepping forward. "I'm here for the truth." Veralia stared, still panting. "You're with my father." "I was," the guard replied. "But I heard what you said in the throne room, and I've waited my whole life for someone to say it." He glanced at Eli, then at Veralia. "There are others who believe in the prophecy, quiet ones, hidden ones. You're not alone anymore. Eli leaned heavily against the wall, pressing his hand to the gash in his side. Virilia knelt beside him, her glowing hands trembling as they hovered over the wound. I don't know if I can heal this, she whispered. Try, he said through gritted teeth. You've already done the impossible once. Her hands steadied. Light gathered at her fingertips, soft, silver, warm. As it touched his wound, the pain dulled, then faded, not completely healed but enough. You're stronger than you think, Eli whispered to her. She gave a small, tired smile. So are you. The guard stepped forward again. We have to leave now. The king will send more. Stronger ones. Where will we go? Virilia asked. There's a rebel outpost beyond the crystal ridges. It's hidden, protected. We can get you there, but it won't be easy. Virilia looked down at Eli. Can you walk? I'll crawl if I have to. The three of them moved quickly, silently, through the palace's hidden corridors. Behind them, the room where they almost died was already filling with smoke. As they passed the royal hall, Virilia paused for just a second. She looked at the golden throne where her father had once ruled over her with silence and shame. I was never meant to be his heir, she whispered. Eli took her hand. Maybe you're meant to be something greater. They ran. Behind them, the palace was already shifting, the empire beginning to crack. Ahead, the future waited, unknown, dangerous, and full of light. Virilia, Virilia, Virilia. The king rose from his throne, each chant like a hammer striking his spine. He clenched his fists so tightly his nails drew blood. This was no longer his palace, it belonged to the people, and they had chosen their queen. In her chamber, Virilia stood at the window, the roar of the crowd echoing through the glass. She pressed a hand to her belly, tears sliding silently down her cheeks, not out of fear, not even sorrow, but hope. Eli, weak but healing, leaned against the doorframe. They're chanting your name. Virilia turned to him, the weight of centuries of silence lifting from her shoulders. They never did before. They are now, he said, because you gave them something real. You gave them you. She walked to him, wrapped his arms around her. I almost lost you. You didn't, he whispered. And now the whole empire knows what he tried to do. They won't let him try again. But deep within the palace, the king was not yet done. He summoned his last weapon, a secret fleet hidden off-world, loyal only to him, raised in exile, untouched by the people's love or fear. These soldiers knew no mercy, only command. If he could not silence the future with poison, he would burn it with fire. Meanwhile, the rebellion was already brewing. The healer who saved Eli now passed messages through secret tunnels. The captain of the royal guard began moving soldiers loyal to Virilia into key positions. And deep in the bowels of the palace, an old AI awakened. One Virilia had reprogrammed long ago to protect her, now feeding data into rebel hands. Eli sat up, despite the pain. We need to leave before he unleashes whatever he's hiding. Virilia shook her head. No, we stay. If we run, we give him the throne again. If we fight, we take it. You're sure? Her eyes flashed with that quiet fire. He cursed me for being born under a star of change. Let's make sure that prophecy comes true. The next morning, a message went out from the palace. Not from the king, but from Virilia. It played across the stars. Her voice clear, calm, and impossible to ignore. I am Princess Virilia. I was born forgotten, broken, cursed. But I am still here. I carry a child who is both human and Virilian, a child of peace, and I will no longer hide. If you believe in a future not ruled by fear, stand with me. If you believe in life over silence, come to the palace. If you believe I should not fight alone, then don't let me. Within hours, ships began landing. Small ones, cargo haulers, shuttles, merchant vessels, Old warships flown by exiled veterans. A new army was gathering, not built by fear but born of choice. And as the crowd outside chanted louder, a storm gathered on the horizon. The final battle for the soul of the Empire was about to begin. "We were born for this," Eli said, his fingers tightening gently around hers. Varelia turned toward the horizon, where twin suns bled golden light across a sky no longer divided by war or fear. For the first time in centuries, the Empire breathed as one. No more whispers of curses, no more chains disguised as duty. In the streets below, the people danced. Nobles in silk beside workers in grease-stained uniforms. Alien scholars clapping beside human children. There was laughter, music, and in the very center of it all, a statue had begun to rise. Not of a king, not even a queen, but of a child, arms open, reaching toward the stars. Behind them, the former king stood quietly in the shadows of the palace balcony. His crown was gone, but in its absence he looked more like a man than he ever had. He said nothing, only watched. Perhaps deep in the hollow where ambition once ruled his heart, he understood. Hope had won. Months passed. The capital transformed. Programs launched to bridge the old divides, shared education between planets, healing projects for those hurt. In the king's purges and a new council that included humans, aliens, hybrids, and even the common folk. Varelia ruled not from a throne, but from the people's floor. Eli became her advisor, her voice of reason and empathy when the weight of legacy threatened to crush her spirit. And then, one quiet morning, as birds from 3 different planets sang in the palace garden, a cry rang out. Their child was born, half human, half Varelian, with eyes like twin galaxies and skin that shimmered faintly in the morning sun. The healer whispered, "The prophecy lives," and wept. Varelia held the baby close, tears slipping down her face. Eli touched the tiny hand that gripped his finger, with impossible strength. "Welcome," he whispered, "to the world we built for you." And far beyond the palace, on distant worlds and deep in fractured hearts, a single truth took root. The future was no longer a story of fear. It was a story of love, of defiance, of a queen who was once cursed and rose,